Week 42. Day 288, on routines and relationships. People are offended when you repeatedly turn down their invitations. But, at that point, I felt that the indispensable relationship I should build in my life was not with a specific person but with an unspecified number of readers. My readers would welcome whatever lifestyle I chose, as long as I made sure that each new work was an improvement over the last. And shouldn't that be my duty, and my top priority, as a novelist? Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami's dedication to his readers is impressive, but you might wonder if it means that if you want to achieve your goals by adopting consistent routines, you'll lose friends and live the life of a social recluse. The answer is, partly yes, and partly no. You often can't choose when you're the most effective. For me, it's mornings, between 5 and 9 a.m. This means that each day I need to go to sleep around 9 or 10 p.m. at the latest, in order to have a good night's sleep and ensure maximum productivity the next morning. Obviously, this affects my life. I rarely hang out with my friends in the evening. However, and here's where we get to the core of the issue, sometimes you need to make a choice between a routine and a relationship. A person whose primary role is that of a parent will understandably adapt their routine to that of their child. An entrepreneur will choose to not spend time with some of his or her friends, if that means that his or her business can grow more quickly. A person who wants to banish negative emotions from their life will ensure that their day is constructed in a way that is most conducive to positive feelings. Define your most important priorities and roles in life and adjust your life accordingly. Don't try to please everybody, because it simply can't happen. Day 289, on accounting for taxes. Everything you do has a tax attached to it. For example, the tax on traveling is all the waiting around. Disagreements and occasional frustration are taxes placed on even the happiest of relationships. Theft is a tax on abundance and having things that other people want. Stress and problems are tariffs that come attached to success. Simply pay the taxes in life, and enjoy the fruits of what you get to keep. Ryan Holiday. It's exciting to set new goals and imagine how your life will change when you achieve them. However, people often forget that everything in life has a tax attached to it. When they wake up to the reality that their goals aren't all roses and require some sacrifices on their part or generate problems, their excitement fades away and their odds of success decrease. As Ryan Holiday notes, there are taxes on traveling, relationships, and financial success, but they aren't limited just to those areas. If you want to become healthier, one of the taxes is that you'll have a harder time when you eat in a social setting. If you want to get more fit, you'll most likely have to forego some other activities in order to make time for physical activities. If you want to become a best-selling author or become virtually any kind of an expert, you'll undoubtedly attract critics. Thinking about the dark side before you even start working on your goals doesn't sound like a good way to motivate yourself, but it's necessary to acknowledge it and be prepared for the fact that any change in life, including a positive one, will bring some new problems with it, and it's a price you have to pay to enjoy it. Day 290, on letting go of the old person. You must be willing to let go of the old person in order to become the new person. You must be willing to stop doing certain things in order to start doing the things that are consistent with the new you. Brian Tracy. People want to get rid of their flaws and improve themselves, but at the same time they aren't willing to let go of their unfavorable behaviors and habits. They're slaves to their weaknesses, often equating them with who they are. An overweight person will never change unless they stop thinking of themselves as an overweight person. If being obese is something that you use as your personal definition and, what's even worse, you feel fine referring to yourself in such a way, how do you expect to become a new person? I was overweight as a teenager and in my early 20s. One day I realized that, in some twisted way, I enjoyed it. Upon discovering this fact and realizing that my future wouldn't be very bright if I were to stay faithful to this definition of myself, I decided to let go of this identity and lose weight. Today, I'm proud to define myself as a slim, fit person. A person who defines themselves as a video gamer and wears it as a badge of honor will be unlikely to adopt new, more productive behaviors until they become willing to let go of their old identity of a gamer. True, there's nothing inherently wrong in being a gamer. However, if it stands in the way of accomplishing your goals, rethink whether it's an identity that serves you or if perhaps it's time to give it up so you can start doing other things that are more consistent with the new you. Who's the old you and who's the new you? How often do you engage in the behaviors of the old you and how often do you manifest the traits of the new you? Shift the balance toward the new you and one by one, eradicate the undesirable old behaviors. Day 291. On the how instead of the outcome. Many people don't understand that how you climb a mountain is more important than reaching the top. The goal of climbing big, dangerous mountains should be to attain some sort of spiritual and personal growth, but this won't happen if you compromise away the entire process. Yvonne Chouinard. All goals require you to go through a process to attain them. If you compromise away the process by cutting corners, you're missing out on what goal achievement is really about, personal growth, through making the journey. When all is said and done, you aren't going to talk for hours about how you stood on top of the mountain, but about the ordeal you had to go through to reach the top. You won't grow because you got to the peak, it's everything that happens prior to reaching it that results in growth. Not the mere act of putting your foot one more step forward and achieving the summit. Whether you take that last step or not, it won't erase all that you've had to go through to get that far. In the quote, Yvonne Chouinard refers to the wealthy individuals with no climbing experience and skills, or any desire to develop them, who pay huge sums of money to reach the top of Mount Everest, with the help of the Sherpas who carry the equipment needed to make the ascent as easy as possible. Those rich men and women aren't after the personal growth, they're after the bragging rights of getting to the top of the tallest mountain in the world at all costs. They reach the top, but they deprive themselves of the lessons the difficult process would offer them. When chasing after your goals, don't be like those wannabe climbers. By all means, do whatever you can to achieve your dreams as quickly as possible, but don't cut corners, compromise your moral principles, cheat, or hurt anyone, just so you can brag that you accomplished your objective. Day 292, on mental resilience. Do not grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. Jalaluddin Rumi. The essence of mental resilience is the belief that anything bad that happens to you will ultimately turn out to be good for you. However, I wouldn't go so far as to say don't grieve after losing a loved one, so please note that today's entry is about being mentally resilient when it comes to less impactful negative events happening in your life. When faced with heartbreaking losses such as a business going bankrupt, a lost job opportunity, a breakup, or even your new diet going south, it's hard to see it as a possible blessing in disguise. After all, you've just lost something, a business, a relationship, a job, or hope for improvement. As an immediate reaction, it might be challenging to not feel bad about the situation. However, once you process that it has happened and accept that, one of the best ways to move on is to remind yourself that what you've just lost will come around again in a different form. Maybe a breakup was necessary so that you can start over again and find a different, better partner. Maybe your business had to go bankrupt so you could free up your resources to focus on a better idea. Your diet went south, and maybe it happened because now you'll discover new nutritional habits that will be easier to maintain than your previous restrictive diet. Each time something bad happens, try to find a lesson in it and the new opportunities it presents. I suggest that you start small, with less significant negative events, as it will take time and experience to learn to handle bigger difficulties with calm and dignity. Day 293, on cutting your losses. Cut your losses short and let your winners run. A Wall Street saying. I once invested several $1,000s in an extensive coaching course. I thought that since I was already an author, it wouldn't be that different to become a coach, too. I spent over a month learning from that course, and ultimately gave up with little to show for it. After a month of studying, I didn't feel I knew that much more about coaching to be able to coach, and it didn't matter, because I knew that I wouldn't do it, anyway. My idea to become a coach was a mistake. I realized that my strengths lie in writing books, and not in giving personalized advice. Continuing my education would have been continuing to invest my time and energy into something that was destined to fail anyway. I cut my losses short and refocused on writing. Due to loss aversion, people have a tendency to avoid losses over acquiring equivalent gains. 292 This means that you'd rather keep investing your time and energy into a failed project than cut it short and redirect your attention to something that can produce better results. It's a dangerous trap for persistent people, because you might spend months, if not years, doing something that will ultimately lead you nowhere. If you're keeping at it only because of what you've already invested, ask yourself if it's the best use of your time. If it isn't, and there are better things you can do, accept the losses as a learning experience and move on. Day 294, on the all-or-nothing mentality. Part of abandoning the all-or-nothing mentality is allowing yourself room for setbacks. We are bound to have lapses on the road to health and wellness, but it is critical that we learn how to handle small failures positively so that we can minimize their long-term destructive effects. One setback is one setback. It is not the end of the world, nor is it the end of your journey toward a better you. Jillian Michaels. People often don't act on their goals because they don't see how they can make it big right away. For them, it's all or nothing. It's either a sexy, firm, and beautiful body or nothing. It's either a glamorous startup, backed by the biggest names from the Silicon Valley, or nothing. It's either being a perfect dancer or not learning how to dance at all. It's easy to see that there's only one outcome of this mentality. You do nothing because no matter what you do, you won't get your perfect results right away. Even if you do start, one setback will discourage you from further efforts. After all, it's all or nothing, and since you just suffered a failure, it's time to give up as you won't be perfect anymore. Avoid developing such a mindset in yourself by acknowledging that everybody has to first be bad at something in order to become good at it. No world-class performer started out with incredible skills. They all fumbled and failed on their journey toward success. If you don't believe me, read some autobiographies. If you managed to get past the all-or-nothing thinking and started working on your goals, but small slip-ups discourage you from further efforts, tell yourself that you only have to adhere to your resolutions in 90% of your efforts. The remaining 10% is your margin for mistakes. That way, one slip-up won't destroy your entire progress. After all, you've already accounted for it, so it's not ruining your forecast result.